The room is dark.
Not because the light is gone, but because there are things an ordinary light cannot reach. There's a kind of story that doesn't begin with a beautiful line.
It begins with a warning.
Await.
As if someone were saying, what you're about to hear was not made to entertain, it was made to wake you up.
The text we cross today is attributed to Enoch, a man described as righteous, set apart, called to... And before you think, just another ancient legend, I'm asking you for 1 minute of attention.
The power of this narrative isn't that everyone accepts it as canon. Shakshimiz. Its power is what it tries to explain.
Where corruption comes from.
Why violence seems to repeat.
Why certain collapses feel rooted in something bigger than human choice. Enoch is not presented as a sword hero or a king of armies.
He is presented as a witness.
A scribe of the invisible. Someone taken to the edge of the heavens to observe.
The earth was sick.
Not only from human error, but from a rupture above humanity. And that is the word that dominates everything. Rupture.
The narrative describes that, at some ancient point, beings called watchers, angels meant to watch, gods. They did not fall by accident.
They chose to descend. And here, the text does not soften it.
It does not romanticize it.
An oath on Mount Hermon.
Do you feel the symbolism?
A mountain as an altar of decision. An agreement sealed not only between individuals, but as a conspiracy.
The idea is simple and terrible. When many choose the wrong together, the wrong becomes a system.
And from that pact comes the first wave of disaster. The Watchers take women.
The story describes these giants as more than just big. They are consumption-made flesh.
They devour resources, break limits.
And when humans can no longer sustain them, they turn their hunger against humans themselves.
The earth fills with blood. The air feels heavy.
Normal life becomes impossible. If you've ever felt the world sometimes works like a grinding machine, the text is trying to tell Azazel. And the root is not only political, not only economic, not only cultural. There is a spiritual layer, invisible, that throws everything into disorder when it is violated. But the narrative goes further. It says the fall didn't bring only physical violence, it brought forbidden knowledge. And here is one of the most unsettling points. It's not knowledge itself that is condemned. It's the kind of knowledge, the motive, and the moment.
In the text, these beings teach humans things that speed up ruin.
The making of weapons. Techniques of war.
Adornments that feed vanity and dominion.
Sorceries.
Charms.
A distorted reading of the heavens. Signs that were never meant to be used to control destiny.
It's like handing matches to a house already filled with gas.
And then, what always happens when vanity meets power, happens.
Humanity becomes disfigured.
Violence becomes routine. Lies become currency. The heart grows hard.
And the earth, in the text's image, begins to cry out, as if creation itself.
At this point, heaven is not portrayed as distant.
The text describes that archangels, Michael, Uriel, Raphael, they are not indifferent. They see the blood. They see the abuse. They see the distortion of what was meant to be human. And then they do something important. They intercede.
They speak with God. They report it. They expose what is happening. That changes the tone.
Because up to here, it feels like evil grows without restraint.
Now, the narrative announces, heaven answered. And the answer comes as judgment, not as an emotional explosion, but as a sentence. One of the most striking sentences is against Azazel, a figure tied to corruption and to teaching that destroys. The order is harsh.
He will be bound, cast into darkness, covered, set apart, awaiting the final judgment.
It's not only punishment, it's containment. As if the text were saying, evil must be limited, or it devours everything. At the same time, there is a sentence over the Nephilim. They will be destroyed. But it doesn't end there.
The text makes a claim many find disturbing. Even after the giants die, Their spirits remain as evil Teatristoral, as if part of the violence they spread kept going as a shadow in the world. And then another element enters: Noah.
The text ties judgment to the flood.
Not as an arbitrary punishment, but as a radical reset in the face of corruption that seemed irreversible. Noah is warned, set apart, instructed.
There is a plan of preservation.
Notice how this narrative always works with two movements: justice and mercy. Judgment for what destroys.
They seek Enoch. They ask him to carry a petition to heaven.
Preservation for what can begin again.
And here comes a moment of enormous moral tension. Enoch is not presented as an accomplice.
He is a messenger. He carries the petition. And the answer is no.
The text says forgiveness does not come.
As if the narrative is saying, there is a point where certain are choices, and Halaniv. This refusal is not to crush the viewer. It is to put weight on decisions.
And after that, Enoch is taken to see more.
He sees places of imprisonment. He sees regions of fire. He sees divisions where spirits await judgment. One place for the righteous. Another for the wicked.
Separations that imply the story does not end with the last breath.
That there is continuity. Accountability.
The narrative widens the horizon. It begins to speak of books, heavenly records, as if nothing truly gets lost.
As if every act were written down, and in the end, revealed.
And a central figure appears that changes everything. The Son of Man.
In the text, he appears as judge and king.
Someone who brings down unjust kings and corrupt powerful men.
Who reveals what was hidden and vindicates the oppressed.
He is not a fragile figure.
He represents final authority.
That matters for the tone.
Because it answers the question many carry in silence. What if no one ever pays for what they did to me?
The narrative doesn't say, everything is solved now.
It says there is an hour when what was done in the dark will be brought into the light.
Then, as if heaven wanted to prove order exists, Enoch is led by Uriel to a different section, the order of the cosmos. Sun, moon, stars, cycles, and times. The text describes it all like a perfect mechanism, obedient, that never breaks its route.
And the contrast is cruel. Creation obeys.
Humans and the Watchers do not. It's as if the whole universe is a clock running.
And humanity insists on tearing out the gears with its own hands.
Later, the text uses allegorical images to tell human history, as if animals were representing generations, leaders, falls, rebuildings.
The feeling is repetition. History falls, God intervenes, history falls again, until something definitive is established.
And then we reach one of the densest parts, the idea of 10 weeks, a symbolic division of until it reaches the final judgment and a new time.
You don't have to agree with every detail to grasp the intent.
The Etriad.
The text is saying history has a direction. That evil is not eternal. And then comes the natural closing, restoration. That injustice has a deadline. The narrative promises a kingdom of justice, peace, light.
A renewed earth.
The end of oppression. The definitive removal of evil. Not as childish fantasy, but as moral resolution. What destroys will not continue forever. Now, before we end, I need to say something honestly.
The text itself is considered apocryphal in most traditions, outside the most common biblical canon. But it also recognizes its strongly shaped ideas about fallen angels, final judgment, and the destiny of the righteous in the wearer. So why talk about this?
Because whether you're religious or not, there's an emotional truth here that's hard to ignore.
When evil gains structure, it doesn't settle for hurting one person.
It tries to form a world where hurting becomes normal.
And what this narrative screams, behind symbols, angels, and visions, is a simple message. Normalizing corruption is signing the oath of Hermon inside your own heart.
Then he falls into teaching what destroys.
The watcher falls first into desire. Then he falls into violence.
And when he realizes it, he's no longer descending. He's already trapped in what he chose.
And maybe that's why Enoch is portrayed as a scribe.
Because stories like this serve as a mirror. A mirror to ask, what am I feeding? What kind of knowledge do I use? Do I build or do I destroy? Do I preserve
Or do I devour?
In the end, the text doesn't just want to scare you.
And there is a call for you to stop treating the invisible like a joke.
If you want, in the next video I can turn this narrative into an even more cinematic format, scene by scene. The Oath on Herman.
The birth of the giants.
The archangels watching from above.
Azazel being cast into darkness. And the vision of the Son of Man coming to judge kings and the powerful. For now, I'll leave you with the question this story plants like an uncomfortable seed.
If judgment revealed today what you feed in secret, would you have peace or would you have fear? And if you felt this theme brush against something deep, don't ignore it.
Because some stories don't appear to inform. They appear to interrupt the cycle.